There you go, Jackster.
I make it like 10 minutes clip so it goes on YouTube. Oh, he's really nervous.
He's got, yeah, well, he's got a lot to take in, hasn't he? He's not done. Just be aware that he has jumped over a gate before.
Yeah.
And just fingers crossed that he doesn't
do you not
jump.
think he'd go that way? Turn it up.
I hope you didn't swear, that's on film.
I'm sorry.
Oh, flipping geck. Turn it off.
Oh dear. Steady, Jackster. Steady, Jackster. Yeah, because it's all different. He'll do his trembly thing again. I'm terrified. Everything's so scary. I'm terrified.
Don't film too much close.
No, I'm trying to just keep him in shot as well. Don't worry. I don't know.
Top of the screen.
I don't know. Does it mean the light's on?
Is it?
Yeah, I think it is.
Oh, lovely.
Hang on, let me just stop for a moment. So we can turn. How do I turn the light off while we're videoing? Can you do that while you're filming?
I think so.
Right, off.
Yeah.
Because it's just going to take battery, isn't it? There we go. He's using all his usual Jack tactics. I'll throw my head around and I'll be a silly sausage.
I can't see anything.
There you go.
Don't worry.
No, we've had Jack's sort of brief history explained, and you can find that horses that have a little bit of history, that have been passion pillar to post, and then they pick up a reputation. As they pick up a reputation, they start to get passion pillar to post, and they lose consistency. Lose consistency in their life.
Could you switch the umbrella a little bit
And also
towards
lose
us?
consistency in what's expected of them.
Do you want me to
And
hold it?
also, how to cope with certain
It's
situations.
leaning on thing.
Okay.
I'm actually using it as an armrest.
So this morning, what we're going to ask Jack to do is pay a little bit more attention to what's going on with what's asked of him, rather than what he wants to do, which is fine, because that's something normal horses like to do, or horses like to do. So you can see he's quite big, he's quite strong,
He's doing what he usually does, pushing with his
and what
head.
he's doing is allowing stress to become a control mechanism. There. So if he finds himself being asked to do something he's a little stressed about because he can't be with his buddies and he's focused elsewhere, we're going to get behaviour. Now people say it's bad behaviour. All it is, it's inappropriate. As a domesticated horse, we don't need to see him jumping around. So all I'm going to do is spend a little bit of time pushing him about. And he's been lunged, introduced to roller, and he started to pick up a little bit of work again. Because work is a good leveller. Not that horses have to work hard, but a consistency in approach and a consistency in ask. Because what I'm asking him to do is to back up a little bit and to move out of my space. And the reason for that is to ask him to be a bit more respectful. Now, he's not being disrespectful, but ultimately he's not being respectful. So all I'm asking for him is to work out that if I ask him to move out of my way, he can do that. Now, asking him to back up is one of the most submissive things to ask him to do, and this is why he's struggling with it. Because horses can't do two things at the same time emotionally. They can't be stressed and worried about where his friends are and doing what's asked of him at the same time. So this is a great way of helping the horse to learn to divert his stress into something more constructive. Start to think about things, see how he wants to headbutt me. So I'll bump him for that, because we've not got to allow his past become a stop in his future. So I'll just let him have a little think about that. So what he's going to start to do is think that when we're asking these questions, we're not telling him off, we're not questioning him, we're not giving him a hard time. If he was out in the field with other horses, they would do exactly the same to him. Now, they don't have a halter and a 12-foot rope and other pieces of equipment that we can use, but we have to kind of step in and find those mechanisms that work on the horse's mind. So you can see when I first started asking him to back up, he wanted to kind of do all sorts of crazy things and jump around and get all animated. And that's fine. And I find by being quietly consistent and not allowing the behaviour to interrupt the instruction, the horse starts to think, oh, that must be redundant, because it doesn't seem to be changing. It doesn't seem to be stopping you, asking me that same question over and over again. So maybe I'll try something else that starts to feel easier. And as his brain registers that he needs to try something else, he'll start to calm down. So this is where we feel when we get horses that are stressed, upset, a little worried, can't cope, won't cope, we want to placate them with praise. There. What we're doing is saying, well done for being stressed. So there's no guidance, no leadership, nothing to provoke the brain to think differently. So this is the heart of it, of changing horses. So I'd like him to move out of my space, and he moves nicely now. So that is asking him to be submissive. Now my ask of submission is not that he doffs his cap and says, yes sir, no sir, 3 bags full sir. My submission has to be open so that the lines of communication are open. So if I need to work with him on anything, to ask him to do anything, I'd like for him to think that he could work with me rather than allow the stress that brings that instinctive behaviour to work against me.
Is that better?
Yeah.
So in a very short time we can start to ask our horses little questions that have a big positive benefit for both parties, horse and person. Good boy. So what I'll start to do is praise him for the work he's given me. We tend to get too quick with our praise and too soon, so it becomes inappropriate. If I was to stand here and say, come on Jack, you're going to be a good boy and you're going to back up and you're going to stop stressing about your friends, good boy. He's done absolutely nothing to earn that. So if I just quietly say, I'd love you to move your feet backwards and out of my way, and drop your nose at the same time, that was fantastic. Well done. So the horse can then start, or any animal can start to piece it together in their mind. Oh, I have to earn the praise. I have to do something to get the praise. And the praise, again, starts to be the release. If I just put a little pressure on him, just quietly, and he moves away and I let go, letting go is the point the horse understands it's done the right thing. But when they become stressy, pushy, bolshy, and we have to hang on, there's no release because we're so unsure about how the horse is going to behave, we hang on. And because there's hanging on, although the pressure, when we talk about pressure, it's not about pain or anything awful, but he knows if I hang on this head collar, he's under pressure. Now what's the hardest thing to do when a horse is a bit stressful and a bit pushy and doesn't respect your personal space is to let go of it. Because 9 times out of 10 they'll want to walk through you or into you or headbutt you like he does. So this is where I want to know that he doesn't think that I'm an easy thing to headbutt. So I'm going to start to push him around a little bit now because we want to introduce equipment. And I like to introduce equipment with horses that have been out of work or I start to work with, is to tack up out of sequence. Now normally we come to tack up our horses, we get them from the field or they're already in the stable. So they're either tied up outside the stable or they're in the stable. They then get the saddle put on them and they'll find that because they're in a comfortable environment, any emotive reaction to do anything instinctive doesn't come to the surface. By the time we walk them from that spot to a training environment or onto a hack, the thought of doing anything wrong kind of disappears and vanishes. But it doesn't go away, it just lies there under the surface. So I call that suppressed emotion. So before we go on and start to introduce, because we'd like to introduce a bridle and long lining and other bits and pieces to this guy, to start to develop his way of going, so they can have a lot of fun, because he's only 7 years old. So in my mind, he's going to be around for quite some time. So if he can have a productive, happy and comfortable working life, then that's going to make life a lot easier for all parties concerned. So I want to push him around. Now if we think about, he's not wearing a saddle at the moment, but if we imagine that he is, 20% of all evasive patterns in horses are behind the saddle. So they're going to buck, swing their quarters to evade, and disengage their quarters to evade. That means shut down, not going anywhere. The engine's off. When we think about in front of the saddle, when we think about in front of the saddle, horses rear, nap, spook, spin,
anything.
run out of fences and show jumping. They carry their head too high, too low, behind the bit, above the bit, crossing the jaw, lack of acceptance of this.